Do Revenge is the teen movie I've been waiting for. Since their popularization in the 1980s, movies aimed at and about teenagers have been a genre unto themselves. Whether they're heartfelt coming-of-age stories or biting satires about adolescence, films like The Breakfast Club, Juno, Superbad, A Cinderella Story, and Mean Girls have managed to find a permanent place in pop culture, becoming essential viewing material for anyone in their teens. The genre's golden age is widely considered to have begun in the 1980s and ended in the 2000s, with the majority of teen films that we now consider iconic having been released during those decades. In the 2000s and 2010s, we saw the rise of teen dramas like The OC and Gossip Girl, and in theaters, action-forward franchises like The Hunger Games and Twilight grew popular, and as a result, traditional teen comedies and coming-of-age stories grew harder to come by. While we've seen good teen films on occasion in the last decade, with films like Easy A, Lady Bird, Booksmart, Unpregnant, and The Edge of 17 coming to mind, for the most part they've been rather disappointing, especially those released direct to streaming like He's All That, Sierra Burgess' A Loser, The Perfect Date, Tall Girl, and The Kissing Booth. I credit these failures to the fact that despite Hollywood desperately attempting to make films that appeal to Generation Z, they don't actually understand what makes that generation unique. And many of the teen movies that have been released in recent years are nothing more than formulaic, superficial, and even condescending rehashings of previous work. Despite being continually let down by Hollywood's reliance on tired tropes and plot devices, I still find myself hoping that I'll watch some movie that has the potential to spark a teen film renaissance. I've reviewed a variety of Gen Z comedies like Not Okay and Freaky, but Do Revenge is probably the only one so far that feels like it can make a lasting impression. Inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's 1951 film Strangers on a Train, Do Revenge follows two high school girls, Drea and Eleanor, who decide to team up and go after the person who's caused the other harm, and by doing so they learn about friendship and forgiveness. While I didn't expect much going into the film, it wound up being quite entertaining and enjoyable, and it might actually be one of Netflix's best teen movies ever. In today's video, I'll be talking about what I did and didn't like about Do Revenge. There will be spoilers, so I'd highly recommend going over to Netflix and watching the movie first before watching the rest of this video. It's really one of those films that is much better if you go in blind. Anyway, let's get into it. The film begins by introducing us to Drea Torres, the most popular girl at Rose Hill, a posh private high school located in Miami. Unlike the rest of her peers, Drea isn't particularly well off, often wearing secondhand clothing, doing odd jobs, and only being able to attend the school because of a scholarship program. After intimate photos she'd taken for her boyfriend are leaked to the entire school and she lashes out at him, Drea is abandoned by her friends and put on academic probation. That summer, she meets transfer student Eleanor, who tells Drea she had a similar humiliating experience in the past when the girl that she liked publicly outed her and made her out to be a predator, effectively ruining her life. The two girls decide to team up in order to publicly humiliate the other's tormentor, with Eleanor going after Drea's ex Max, and Drea being sent after Carissa. In classic teen movie fashion, the mousy and tomboyish Eleanor is given a makeover, which allows her to make her way into Max's popular clique.
We have to do
please don't say a
makeover. Yay! Feels so problematic. It is, but it's fun.
While they succeed in sabotaging Carissa fairly easily, Max proves to be a more difficult target, with his popularity, wealth, gender, and race coming to his aid on multiple occasions. Over time, the girls begin to develop a rather intense friendship, but this comes to a screeching halt when Drea discovers that Eleanor had actually been using her the entire time, with Drea actually being the girl who ruined Eleanor's life all those years ago. Eleanor forces Drea to attend an end-of-the-year party in order to get blackmail material on all of her previous friends, but they're caught by Max, who upon discovering their schemes vows to get revenge on them. He also admits to being the one who leaked Drea's photos, which Eleanor gets on camera, and they share this confession with the rest of the school, which finally succeeds in turning people against Max. Having gotten their revenge, the film ends with Eleanor and Drea skipping their senior graduation and driving off together, while the end credits reveal that they've reconciled with their respective love interests. Unlike other teen-focused comedies that attempt to play these types of films straight, despite their scenarios being absolutely unrealistic, Do Revenge is deliberately silly and camp. And because the film is willing to have fun, it makes the entire viewing experience more enjoyable, and you never find yourself thinking, oh, that would never happen, because they're not attempting to be rooted in reality to begin with. Director and writer Jennifer Caton Robinson has admitted to taking inspiration for the film from an assortment of movies, and besides the obvious ode to Strangers on a Train, the film also reminds me of Clueless, Election, Cruel Intentions, Gossip, Jawbreaker, Mean Girls, John Tucker Must Die, The Hot Chick, and Thoroughbreds. While references to other movies are often nothing more than acts of fan service, Do Revenge is smart about how it chooses to incorporate its predecessors. And despite sharing similarities to these other films, it doesn't feel derivative. Most importantly, when it does make a direct reference, it's done with love and respect. And at no point do they try to disparage another film in order to depict themselves in a more positive light.
I created you, and I can just as easily destroy you.
I made you, and I can break you just as easily.
Do you go to school with us?
Do you even go to this school?
No.
I'm most familiar with Camila Mendes from her time as Veronica Lodge on Riverdale, and I only ever saw the first season of that absolute fever dream of a show, so this project was a fun way of being reintroduced to her. Her characterization of Drea is excellent, towing the line between villain and hero effortlessly, and there are aspects of her delivery that remind me of Rachel McAdams as Regina George, which is likely on purpose. Plus, she's absolutely hilarious, being a touch over the top but still believable, and she has some of the most quotable lines in the film.
We're gonna kill him. You're not serious.
No, I'm not fucking serious. Pray for Erica.
Pray for Erica.
I'm shocked. This is shocking news.
I came. Let's go to a party.
The only character who stands out more is Sophie Turner's, who's so delightfully unhinged and chaotic that she steals the scene every single time.
I don't do cocaine! I don't even know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like! I swear!
I was especially impressed with Austin Abrams' turn as Max, Drea's faux woke indie ex-boyfriend who serves as the film's primary antagonist.
You really are the devil.
Mean. It's upsetting that my entrepreneurial spirit has to be reduced to such petty name calling. I put you through enough, I was just gonna let it all go.
Really?
No, not really. Why would I do that? I hate you.
The character is practically the polar opposite of Ethan, Abrams' character in Euphoria, and he does a great job of portraying a character who is meant to be confident to the point of narcissism, while also being deeply insecure. Unlike teen movie villains of the past, who were often hyper-masculine jock types, Max is adjusted for the times, with the character using contemporary ideas about gender and sexuality to his advantage, which is representative of the very real problem of people co-opting rhetoric as they see fit in order to suit their own agenda.
The Allies.
The costume designer also did an excellent job of creating the character's look, and with his painted nails, film camera, and assortment of hip and trendy jackets, Max resembles male celebrities like Jacob Elordi, Timothy Chalamet, and Harry Styles, showing how he's cultivated his image in a way that will best benefit him. While I appreciate that the film allows Max to be a truly detestable guy, I do wish that his part in leaking Drea's photos had been left a touch more ambiguous in the beginning. By making it less obvious that it had been him all along, it would have mirrored how society routinely believes men over women, thereby solidifying one of the film's underlying themes about privilege. It would also make the moment where Eleanor purposely hurts Drea by saying there's no evidence that he did it all the more painful, as it would have seemed like a confirmation of Drea's worst fears, instead of the obvious lie that it is. If they'd had Drea lose her phone at school or at a party before the photos were leaked, Max's denial could have had some weight, while Drea's unshakable confidence that it was him would be more commendable, as everyone truly believes that he wasn't involved. I also think that the tiniest possibility that someone else had done it also would have made other side characters more interesting, even if they didn't wind up actually being involved. Many films shy away from colorful clothing, but Do Revenge uses it to create a distinctive aesthetic. And as a result, despite being one of dozens of films to feature plaid school uniforms, Rose Hill has a look all of its own. Costume designer Alana Mooreshead took inspiration from Korean school uniforms, but the pastel colors actually remind me of But I'm a Cheerleader, another dark teen comedy with themes of social conformity. Supporting and background characters often get the short end of the stick when it comes to clothing in teen movies, but in Do Revenge, everybody is serving a look. I'm especially in love with Tara's outfits. I don't necessarily think that the wardrobe is true to what high school students today are actually wearing, with the clothing reading just a touch older, but this is another example of the film choosing to go for something stylized and slightly absurd in order to get its point across. Drea regularly dresses in cool jewel tones, symbolic of her role as the queen bee, and as someone who is confident in herself and her sexuality, her clothing is made up of silhouettes that are more form-fitting and textiles that are eye-catching. You'll also notice that she has more of a 90s influence on her wardrobe, no doubt a reference to one of the teen genre's most iconic eras. Although Drea makes her over, Eleanor doesn't become a carbon copy of her, and her clothing takes notes from the 60s and 70s, especially the hippie and mod subcultures. This makes her appear friendlier and more inviting, which lulls you into a false sense of security that makes the reveal of her true character all the more surprising. Call me stupid, but I genuinely didn't see the third act twist coming. I actually thought they were going to have a gotcha moment and tell us that one of Drea's friends had been the one to leak her photos, so I was very grateful when that turned out to not be the case. Having Eleanor be the master manipulator made her a far more interesting character, but I do wish that we'd been able to see more of her scheming, especially since she spends most of the movie going along with whatever Drea says. Considering she and Drea bring out both the best and worst in one another, I would have preferred a less blatantly happy ending, especially since the girls haven't learned their lesson about using others for their own benefit. I'm not saying that they need to be punished, but I would have loved it if it had been more apparent that they hadn't actually changed for the better. It's a tiny thing, but I really do not like the choice to make Eleanor's love interest, Gabby, Max's younger sister. The fact that she's aware of the awful things her brother has done to others but doesn't actually do anything about it makes her extremely untrustworthy and hypocritical, and I can't find myself rooting for their eventual relationship. The two siblings don't even interact with one another over the course of the film, which makes it rather obvious that the only reason for their familial relationship is to explain why Gabby's around when the story needs her to be. I personally think that a better choice for a love interest might have been Tara, Drea's ex-best friend and Max's new girlfriend, especially since bisexual characters aren't often depicted in movies. By having Tara become Eleanor's confidant within their clique, it not only would have created more internal conflict on Eleanor's end, but it also would have given us more insight into Tara's character. In the film, she does express regret over the group's mistreatment of Drea, but more times than not, she's on Max's side, which makes their eventual reconciliation and her character's redemption undeserved. This is actually a problem I had with all of Drea's ex-friends. They all behave terribly towards her and regularly help Max get out of trouble, but in the end, they randomly decide to turn against him because it's revealed that he's the one who leaked Drea's photos, something they probably already knew. I would have liked to have seen them punished right along with him, but maybe that's because I'm not the most forgiving person. I know some people have complained about the two leads not winding up together, a testament to Camila Mendes and Maya Hawke's chemistry, but I never interpreted their relationship as being anything more than friendly. They're undeniably obsessed with one another, but that doesn't immediately equate to romantic or sexual love. And I'd say that this portrayal of deeply intimate yet toxic female friendship is incredibly true to life. Overall, this is one of the most entertaining teen comedies I've seen in a long time, and I don't doubt that it'll become a cult classic right alongside Jawbreaker and Heathers. If you watched this movie and wound up enjoying the dark comedy aspects of it, I'd also recommend checking out 1995's To Die For, 1997's The House of Yes, 1999's Drop Dead Gorgeous, 2001's Sugar and Spice, 2002's Slap Her She's French, 2005's Pretty Persuasion, and 2010's Miss Nobody. What did you think of Do Revenge? I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!